There are moments in life when an argument isn't just an argument. It's a battlefield of insecurity, pride, fear, and hidden wounds. You know that moment, when someone challenges you, misjudges you, or twists your words, and suddenly your mind floods with the urge to defend, to fight, to prove. But what if I told you that long before you existed, long before any modern debate, insult, or confrontation, there were 5 brutal Socratic words so powerful, so quietly devastating, that they silenced entire rooms, not with aggression, but with truth. Words that didn't just crush arguments, but exposed illusions, dismantled egos, and forced even the proudest minds to face themselves. Words so sharp that Stoic thinkers guarded them like weapons of inner clarity. You may think you've heard everything about conflict resolution, communication, logic, psychology, but these 5 words are different. They do not help you win arguments. They reveal whether an argument ever needed to exist at all. They don't make you louder, they make the other person hear themselves. And as Marcus Aurelius wrote, the truth never harms a just cause. But what if the cause you're defending isn't just? What if every heated exchange has been a mirror you refuse to look into? Right now, someone in your life might be pulling you into unnecessary conflict. A friend, a partner, a sibling, a stranger, maybe even yourself. Maybe you've felt that rising heat in your chest, that trembling in your words, that silent plea, "Why won't they understand me?" But imagine being able to calmly drop a single sentence, just 5 Socratic words, and watch the noise collapse into clarity. No emotional explosions, no insults, no chaos, just truth delivered with precision. That's the power Socrates used to dismantle the arrogance of generals, the pride of politicians, even the illusions of his own students. And the Stoics, who admired him deeply, studied those moments like sacred rituals. You're about to discover these 5 words, one by one. But not yet, because you need to understand something first. Socrates never won arguments. He ended them, not by force, but by guiding the other person to defeat their own false certainty. As Epictetus wrote, "If you would be a reader of truth, prepare yourself for untruth." In every confrontation you've ever faced, the true battle was never between you and the other person. It was between you and your own assumptions, between what you think you know and what is actually there. So before we begin revealing the first of these 5 brutal Socratic words, the first blade of clarity, ask yourself, why do I argue? What am I trying to protect? What am I afraid the truth will expose? That discomfort you feel right now, that opening of the door Socrates walked through, and once you step through it, you won't argue the same way ever again. Because the first Socratic word, the first strike, doesn't shatter the other person's logic, it shatters yours.
Before Socrates ever delivered the first of the 5 brutal words, he would sit in silence, not to gather strength, but to let the other person reveal themselves. His students wrote that he listened so deeply that people often confessed more than they intended. And when their certainty reached its peak, when their ego inflated like a balloon begging to be pierced, he would offer the gentlest, most devastating question a human being can hear. The first Socratic word, the first blade, the first mirror. How do you know? 5 letters, 1 question, yet it collapses entire arguments like a building with no foundation. And here's the truth, this word doesn't crush them, it crushes the illusion they're clinging to. Think back to your last argument, not the loudest one, but the one that left you shaken. Maybe someone accused you unfairly. Maybe someone dismissed your feelings. Maybe someone acted like they understood your life better than you did. In that moment, your instinct was probably to defend yourself, to explain, justify, or retaliate. But imagine instead whispering calmly, without anger, "How do you know?" Suddenly, the entire fight shifts. The burden moves off your shoulders, the heat dissolves. Because the moment you ask this, you force the other person to do something most humans avoid: examine the source of their certainty. Marcus Aurelius practiced this same principle in his private journal. Whenever he felt frustrated or attacked, he wrote, "Ask, what is the nature of this claim, and upon what does it rest?" That is pure Socratic technique, a gentle unraveling, a quiet exposure. He wasn't challenging the person, he was challenging the assumption beneath the noise. Seneca echoed this same truth when he warned, "Opinions sway us more than circumstances." And it's opinions, disguised as facts, that fuel almost every argument you've ever had. But here's the part most people never realize. When you say, "How do you know?" you're not just exposing their assumptions, you're exposing yours. Because the moment you ask that question, a second, uncomfortable question rises inside you. And how do I know? This is why the first Socratic word is brutal. It tears apart the stories you've been clinging to, the stories about what people meant, why they acted, what they think of you, what they expect. You begin to recognize how much of your anger comes not from what happened, but what you believe happened. And beliefs, when left unchallenged, become prisons. Socrates used this one question to bring down the illusions of poets, generals, nobles, and scholars. He wasn't humiliating them, he was freeing them. Because once a person confronts the trembling ground beneath their certainty, truth becomes possible. And without truth, no argument has ever been resolved. So the first word stands here before you, a quiet sword placed gently in your hand. But remember, once you use it, you can't go back to the way you used to argue. You cannot unsee what it reveals. You cannot continue defending assumptions, guessing motives, or fighting shadows. How do you know? It is gentle. It is surgical. It is merciless. And it prepares you for the second Socratic word, the one that doesn't question their certainty, but your own.
After the first word, the mind is unsteady. Certainty wavers. The air feels different, thinner, heavier, charged with the tension of unspoken truths. This is where Socrates would strike again, not with accusation, not with fury, but with the second Socratic word, a word that pierces assumptions while exposing the emotional armor we wear in every debate. Is it true? Simple, direct, unrelenting. Two words that demand reflection, not reaction. They do not ask how someone knows. That came first. They ask if what they believe actually corresponds with reality. And that is a question most people are terrified to answer. Because it's easier to cling to a story than to face the fragile, mutable nature of truth. Imagine your last heated argument. Someone accused you of failure, of indifference, of weakness. You felt the burn in your chest, the panic in your throat. Now, picture saying calmly, "Is it true?" Watch how their conviction falters. Observe how the mind, trained to defend itself, stumbles against the impossible demand for honesty. Because answering this requires humility, the very thing most arguments are built to avoid. And humility is uncomfortable, brutal, necessary. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The second Socratic word forces a reaction rooted not in ego, but in truth. When someone answers, they must reconcile perception with reality. And when they fail,
when their beliefs crumble under the gentle weight of honesty, you do not gloat. You watch quietly, because this collapse is not theirs alone. It mirrors every time you've clung to assumptions, every time your anger flared for reasons you barely understood. Stoic thinkers knew this intimately. Zeno of Citium taught that our judgments create suffering, not the events themselves. To question truth is not cruelty, it is liberation. To ask, is it true, is to demand clarity in a world that thrives on illusion. And as the mind hesitates, the emotional fog clears. The argument is no longer about winning, it is about reality and the courage to face it. Here's the subtle, painful insight most people miss. When you wield this word, you confront more than your opponent. You confront yourself. Every exaggeration you've believed, every projection you've made, every fear dressed up as certainty, it all surfaces. And that is why the second word is as devastating as it is essential. It is the hammer behind the first blade, breaking not just ego, but illusion. The first word asked how they know. The second asks if it is true. Together they dismantle the fragile scaffolding of certainty. And when the mind trembles, when the emotional stakes rise, you sense the awakening, the recognition that most conflict is built on nothing but assumptions. The stage is now set. The air crackles with anticipation. The third Socratic word waits, more daring than the first two. It will not just question knowledge or truth, it will question motive. And in doing so, it will reveal what most people are too afraid to admit: the hidden reason behind every argument, every accusation, every heated word.
The first two words have already begun to shake the foundations. Certainty wavers, ego falters, and the air is thick with the tension of unspoken truths. But Socrates knew the battle wasn't over. People can cling to beliefs, twist facts, and hide behind rhetoric. To truly strip an argument to its core, he wielded the third Socratic word, a question designed to illuminate hidden motives, to expose the heart beneath the noise. Why, do you say? It seems simple, almost polite, yet it cuts deeper than any insult or rebuttal. When you ask someone why, you force them to confront themselves, not just their words, but the fear, pride, or desire that propels them. They must justify not only the argument, but the very emotion driving it. This is why the third word is so brutal. It reveals the silent engine behind every accusation, every judgment, every heated exchange. Picture a conversation spiraling out of control. Your mind races. You feel cornered. You're on the defensive. And then, softly, deliberately, you ask, why do you say that? Watch their posture change, the pause that grips them. Suddenly, their attack isn't as sharp. Their certainty isn't as loud. They are forced to meet their own reasoning, to confront the chain of thoughts that brought them to this moment. And here's the Stoic truth. Most of the time, when someone answers honestly, you discover the argument wasn't about you at all. It was about fear, frustration, envy, or misunderstanding. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." When you ask why, you invite the other person to step out of the illusion, and you force yourself to do the same. You begin to see that arguments are often masks for deeper vulnerabilities. The person yelling, insisting, or condemning is often just as lost as you.
and yet so few dare to ask this simple word. It is polite, yes, but merciless in its power. Consider the Stoic approach. Zeno taught that understanding the root cause of human behavior leads to empathy, not indulgence. To ask why is not weakness, it is insight. You begin to recognize the emotional mechanics of disagreement, the subconscious triggers that escalate conflict, and the unspoken fears everyone carries. The third word transforms an argument from battlefield to mirror. It forces introspection, reflection, and the subtle horror of self-awareness. Here is the profound realization. Arguments rarely exist in isolation. They are the intersection of assumptions, truths, and unexamined motives. And the third Socratic word exposes this intersection with surgical precision. You are no longer battling someone else's words. You are illuminating the darkness within both of you. The mind is now unsteady but awakened. The stage is set for the fourth word, more incisive, more challenging, more intimate. Because if the first three words dissect knowledge, truth, and motive, the fourth cuts into consistency. And when that blade lands, nothing will feel quite the same again.
By the time Socrates reached the fourth word, the room had shifted. The first three questions, how do you know? Is it true? Why do you say? Had already unsettled certainty, exposed hidden assumptions, and forced introspection. But human beings are resilient. They will cling to contradictions, defend inconsistency, and hide behind half-truths. The fourth Socratic word is designed precisely to confront this, to reveal the fractures in thought that no ego can willingly admit. What do you mean? Simple, almost innocent. Two words that demand clarity. Two words that quietly dismantle vagueness, pretense, and rhetorical flourish. When someone speaks without fully understanding their own claim, this question becomes a mirror they cannot avoid. It strips away fancy language, hidden agendas, and intellectual armor. And it is merciless, because most people think they know what they mean, but under scrutiny, their words tremble, and truth begins to leak through the cracks. Imagine a debate where the other person has been tossing assertions like grenades, loud, confident, seemingly unassailable. You pause, you listen, and then deliberately, calmly, what do you mean? Observe the pause, the hesitation, the faltering confidence. They must clarify. They must face the fact that words without precision are empty weapons. And in that pause, the argument begins to dissolve. For what is a claim without meaning? Just noise, empty noise. Seneca warned that much of human suffering comes from our inability to speak and think clearly. If we were clear in our thoughts, we would not be troubled by words. The fourth word operates exactly here. It forces precision, forcing the speaker to confront contradictions, forcing both of you to face whether the argument has any substance at all. Cleanthes, the Stoic who revered reason above all, would have admired this. Clarity, he argued, is the shield against chaos. And when you ask, what do you mean? Clarity becomes a scalpel, exposing every hidden assumption, every ill-formed idea, every shaky foundation. And here's the subtle brilliance. The first three words dismantle certainty, truth, and motive. The fourth word dismantles consistency. It forces the human mind, so proud of its logic, to see its own fragility. And as it trembles under this gentle scrutiny, you begin to realize a Stoic truth. Most arguments are not battles to win, but illusions to dissolve. The ego wants to fight, but the mind wants clarity. And in that tension, wisdom begins to stir. The stage is now trembling with anticipation. One word remains, the fifth, the final Socratic strike. It is the word that consolidates all the previous revelations, the word that crushes illusions not through force, but through the quiet inevitability of truth. And when it lands, it will leave both parties and perhaps most of all you, forever changed. The first 4 Socratic words have already reshaped the conversation. Certainty has wavered. Truth has been questioned. Motives have been exposed. Clarity has begun to pierce the fog. And now we arrive at the 5th Socratic word, the final, most devastating blade. The word that leaves no room for evasion, pretense, or projection. Can you prove? 3 words, a simple challenge, yet one that strikes at the heart of every argument. The bridge between belief and evidence, between claim and reality. Socrates understood that most conflicts persist not because of disagreement, but because no one dares to confront the tangible proof, or lack thereof, behind their convictions. And the 5th word does exactly that. It is a quiet, surgical demand for accountability. Imagine the last argument you had. Perhaps it was with a friend, a colleague, or even within your own mind. You felt the fire of injustice, the sting of misunderstanding, the chaos of words flung like daggers. Now, imagine calmly asking, "Can you prove?" Watch as the words falter, the certainty waver, the ego stumble. Because in truth, few claims withstand this test. Few assertions survive the light of examination. The 5th word doesn't humiliate, it simply illuminates, and illumination is brutal. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken. Examine the mistake, not the person." The 5th Socratic word embodies this Stoic philosophy. It does not attack the individual. It confronts the unverified, the assumed, the imaginary truths that drive our conflicts. When you wield it, you reveal not only the weakness in the other's argument, but the fragility of all unexamined beliefs, including your own. Epictetus emphasized, "We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them." This is precisely what the 5th word exposes. Arguments collapse not because of force, but because the foundation, unexamined belief, assumption, misperception, no longer supports them. And when the last layer falls away, you experience something almost sacred: silence. The silence after the storm of words. The clarity that arrives when pretense dissolves. Here is the subtle, transformative insight. Each Socratic word built upon the last. The first questioned knowledge, the second truth, the third motive, the 4th consistency, and the 5th accountability. Alone, each is powerful. Together, they do more than end arguments. They teach mastery over thought, emotion, and perception. And in that mastery lies freedom. The 5th word leaves the room changed. Not because you crushed someone with logic, but because truth, when unveiled gently and deliberately, has a weight that no ego can resist. And as you reflect on all 5, you begin to see the Stoic path. Not domination, not victory, but clarity, acceptance, and self-mastery.
And now, after 4 questions, 5 words, countless pauses, and infinite reflections, we arrive at the grand revelation. The lesson Socrates quietly imparted, one the Stoics cherished above all, is not merely about argument, it is about life. Because arguments are mirrors. They reflect the ego, the fear, the unexamined assumptions, and the illusions we carry. They are not battles to win, they are opportunities to awaken. And in this awakening lies the ultimate Socratic Stoic truth. All conflict begins within. Every harsh word spoken, every grievance held, every resentment felt stems from a mind untrained, a perspective unexamined, a soul clinging to illusion. The 5 words, how do you know? Is it true? Why do you say? What do you mean? Can you prove? Do more than end arguments. They guide you inward. They force you to confront your own assumptions, biases, and emotional triggers. As Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. These words are tools of that mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves constantly break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." That cliff is the mind trained to wield Socratic inquiry, firm, calm, unmoved by provocation, yet able to illuminate truth with every word. Stoicism teaches that the power of argument is not in force or persuasion, but in clarity and self-control. The 5 words are the embodiment of this power, merciless to illusion, gentle to the human spirit. Consider the journey you've taken through this script. You've witnessed the first word shatter assumptions, the second strip away false certainty, the third expose motive, the fourth demand consistency, and the fifth challenge accountability. Each step mirrors a path you can walk in life, a path of reflection, honesty, and courage. And when you reach the end, silence follows. A silence not of defeat, but of understanding. A calm that comes from recognizing that the true battle is never with others, it is with yourself. Here, in the echo of these 5 words, lies the Stoic revelation. Freedom is the ability to confront truth without fear, to speak it without malice, and to witness it in others without anger. The mastery of dialogue is mastery of self, and the mastery of self is the gateway to peace. Cleanthes wrote, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, Destiny, wherever you have assigned me. I shall follow without complaint." To follow here is to live in the light of examined life, to wield these words as a reflection of reason, not aggression, and to meet the chaos of human discourse with calm, deliberate clarity. Perhaps the ultimate lesson is this: the power of the 5 Socratic words is not in silencing others, it is in awakening them. It is in awakening yourself. In a world filled with noise, conflict, and misjudgment, these words are sacred instruments, 5 keys to understanding, freedom, and inner peace. And once you embrace them, you will never argue the same way again. Because perhaps the answer was never control, it was clarity. Perhaps the victory was never theirs, it was yours, in the calm of a mind that sees clearly, judges wisely, and speaks deliberately. And in that calm, in that silence after the final word, you understand what the Stoics and Socrates have always known. This moment, this conversation, this conflict, it is enough.